Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. This will be a recording of the Executive Board meeting, May 8th, 1967, St. Joseph's Infirmary. Boardroom.
I believe the hour has come for the Board of Directors to have the meeting called to order. We've come to order at this time, and if you can please stand, we'll have Ms. Henry have our prayer.
Our Father, we're unworthy to ask that Thou invoke Thy blessings, Thy care continuously upon us. But we're glad for the provisions that Thou hast made for each of us, and with thanksgiving we accept them. Direct the course of our action for this meeting. We feel so dependent upon Thee, wholly dependent upon Thy guidance and Thy direction, for even the air that we breathe and the things that we partake for life, the physical, the biological life, but for our direction as we serve a great cause. Bless the recipients of our cause and our effort for good. We make this prayer in Thy name.
We'll ask the Secretary to have the roll call.
Ms. Catherine Pope, present. Mrs. Pauline English,
Present.
Miss Frances Hannett,
Present.
Miss Marion Hayam, Miss Lucy Mace,
Present.
Miss Gladys Garland,
Present.
Miss Dana Hudson, Miss Charity Wells,
Present.
Sister Lewis Merritt,
Present.
Miss Jacqueline Graves, present. Mrs. Inez Stanley, Miss Cynthia Mowry,
Here.
Miss Marilyn Rosecrans, Mrs. Frances Bussey,
Here.
Miss Elizabeth Langford, Mrs. Margaret Hasty, Mrs. Emily Zerch,
Here.
and the ex officio member Miss Honeycutt,
Here.
and the executive secretary Miss Atkins, and the parliamentarian Miss Lewis.
Thank you. Looks like we're almost 100% here today. I appreciate your coming. The minutes of March 6th Board of Directors meeting have been circulated. Did all members receive copies? Are you familiar with the last directors meeting, the minutes? Do you wish them read? Then if there's no questions or discussions, or if you do not wish them read, are there corrections? Then hearing none, we will adopt them as circulated. All right. I have some communications to share with you today. The first couple of acknowledgments of our expressions of sympathy, I'll pass them around. The family of Mrs. G.L. Brock, Mrs. Julia Brock, lost a family member, I believe her mother. We've had acknowledgment of expressions of sympathy, and Mrs. Dolly Dobbs, and the family of Mrs. Dobbs.
She was a member, Paley Dobbs. Isn't it Paley the way they pronounced it? Anyhow, she was private duty member. We
I did not
sent
know
flowers.
her.
She was private duty section.
We have had an invitation to an informal dinner and seminar for business and professional women at the Marriott Martyr Hotel, Atlanta, Wednesday evening, May 24th. And they asked me to acknowledge this. It was addressed to Ms. Atkins and I, and they were permitting us enough reservations so that each section might attend, each section chairman. So Ms. Atkins and I agreed that probably the persons we should ask to go were the chair of the sections, and they have accepted their reservations, and I believe we talked with the chair, or we communicated with them, so that if you cannot attend, you get someone to go to this dinner and seminar. We felt this would be a better representation and a way to get the chair of the sections involved with some of these parties that we seem to be going to. And then I thought well, that's one more dinner I don't have to go to. I spend more time at the Marriott lately than I do at work. And then they sent me an invitation as the president, so I'll see the section chair at the Marriott if all goes well. I have a letter of resignation. It seems we had just gotten a secretary appointed, and I have this letter I'll share with you. Due to the illness and confinement of my mother to my home, it is with deep regrets that I submit my resignation as Secretary of the 5th District GSNA. I would not have accepted this assignment had I known that her health would take such a sudden turn. I will serve until the board can replace me. Thank you all for your vote of confidence, and perhaps soon I can be of service again. Sincerely, and typical of, I can say this knowing Marion personally, she forgot to sign it. I believe it's from Marion. So this we will need to deal with in our new business area. We regret to have this letter of resignation, and we will deal with later in the agenda. We have a invitation to a luncheon being held at the Marriott this Thursday for individuals and representatives of organizations actively involved in the planning for and the developing of our proposals for the Price Area Health Center. The EOA proposal is now being considered by the Office of Economic Opportunity, Washington, D.C. We have no reason for doubting that this center will be funded and that Atlanta will take its place among the major cities, giving leadership in the implementation of new concepts of delivering health services to the disadvantaged. And then the last paragraph, I won't read all of this. Are there members that might be interested in attending this? This is the EOA. It is indicated that individuals and representatives, and ask that you or someone attend. Ms. Atkins had stated that she didn't feel that she could attend. I have a rather big schedule, but I thought surely we could have someone from the board that might go.
When is that?
It's this Thursday. We just received the letter. I had a call Friday.
Well, I know that we'll have administrative representation there from our schools, so I wouldn't feel like accepting.
Miss English?
You don't want to go with them for
We may, well, of course, Miss English is the first vice president, but it has indicated members, individuals, and representatives.
Who's it from? Tom Sellers?
C.O. Emmerich.
Oh,
Emmerich.
Emmerich.
Miss English, could you go?
Thursday?
Yes,
Miss Garland on that?
I thought maybe Miss Garland might be interested in it, I didn't know. I can't, you said this Thursday.
Yes.
I can't go this Thursday. There will be people from my staff there, but I won't be there. The supervisor in that area will be there, Mrs. Hill. More than likely.
Well, I could. Maybe I go on his car. That's my boss.
Conscience be your guide.
Then I'll
You'll be
share
there
this.
once.
Anyone else, I can give the names of anyone else that can attend the luncheon. We'll get the reply in. Then hearing none, we'll. I had a communication, and before I really got around to really reading all of it and finding out what was involved, I'll share this with you, and I won't read it. It's a 2-page letter regarding the Manpower Development and Training Act and the Department of Labor as relates to refresher courses. And to give you a little bit of the background, I think the year before last in GSNA convention, the convention body voted that the EACT and the NSA section cooperatively work up, EACT provide the leadership to get refresher courses for the state, throughout the state, sort of GSNA sponsored for the state, and to recruit Manpower Development and Training Act funds, or funds under the provisions of this. And the EACT and NSA section have gone about this, and you all will recall that in January there was some publicity. The first class was gotten underway in the winter quarter at Georgia State. The second refresher program is underway at this point. And then also in the Public Health Service, the Division of Nursing Bureau of Manpower, with the Labor Department, it seems that they too could administer funds for refresher courses. So we have had refresher courses going on from the various involvements of the people at the Bureau of Manpower Public Health, as well as the program that the EACT section and the Special Studies Department at Emory Georgia State sought out under the Manpower and Development Training Act, which also is administered by the Labor Department. So we have the Health Department really through the people and Manpower Bureau of the Health Department was working on this, and also the GSNA representatives are appointed groups. And there apparently there's been in the board, I would share this, there's been a good bit of just, I think, lack of communications as to who was offering these courses and who should offer them. Of course, the general, and this was stated that I believe at the last GSNA board, that really, and this was debatable, or there were those that were not in agreement, but the EACT, ESA chair was saying that they felt that refresher courses should irregardless, of who sponsored refresher courses, that the nurses in the state should be concerned, and that maybe the GSNA was the appropriate body to identify what went into refresher courses across the state. Now, I was invited because of my position to go to the evaluation of the first refresher course at Georgia State. I did attend that with the special study department head and the representative from the labor department and the instructors, and I was very much, personally, I was very much impressed with the type of program that they had. And at the time, the discussion that the chair of the EACT and the chair of the NSA section for state were making the inquiries as to how instructors could be developed to go to the communities, or how the community nurses could be brought in for these refresher courses. And Mr. Van Gorder, the chair of the special studies at Georgia State, could envision and was to try to see what would be involved as far as their staff and with the Labor Department funds to train instructors to do this on a statewide basis and have sort of a state curriculum, might we say, for refresher courses and to take it throughout the state, which I would again say personally I thought was a very excellent move and maybe a move in the right direction. But nonetheless, the health department, and this letter, I'll pass it around, is from Mrs. Barfield, Miss Barfield, talking about the nursing forum that was going to have a meeting, and I did not get to the meeting, but it was to really try to have improved communications to all persons who might be using the funds. And I don't have a report from this forum meeting. I did not get my letter in time because of personal involvements to survey the board members as I was requested to do, to lend any support. However, I felt that we really had some representation in that. The chair of the NSA section and the chair of the EACT section are 5th District members, Mrs. Dixon, and I figured that they knew what had gone on, and I felt that the membership had voted in convention to pursue this. So there are refresher courses going on. I would advise you to, if you have any questions about the ones that, if you have any question about refresher courses period, maybe check with Ms. Barfield, who could direct you to the people in Manpower Bureau, or to Dr. Van Gorder at Georgia State, the Special Studies Department, and try to evaluate where you should refer persons for refresher courses at this point. Presently there is a refresher course going on at Georgia State, and I believe you had one, yours is completed, right? And I believe Brady has had one since all of this discussion began. And the point was brought out that GSNA should not be in a position of dictating to any institution that wants to conduct a refresher course, but that maybe this was, other members of the board brought out that maybe this was an area that the nurses should be concerned with the type of refresher courses and how they were administered in this type of thing for the state. So
could I speak?
Yes.
We really only offer the facilities. This was done by the Georgia State Health Department in conjunction with the HEW and the Labor Department.
Yes.
Rose McGee was the director.
Yes. It was under the Manpower Bureau of the
Yeah.
Public Health.
They used our facilities.
Yes. And the one at Grady, the one at Georgia State was under the Department of Labor. I believe the funds come from the same ultimately.
Right.
So,
Just ours had to come from the Education Board in the city of Atlanta, actually. A lot of red tape.
then other communications that I would share with you, the N-Board, GSNA Board, we've had 2 board meetings since we last met, and we had spent one whole day on reviewing bylaws to have them in conformity with the ANA's new structure. And then we adjourned and had a second part of a day from 9 till about 1 p.m. on another day to proceed with the bylaws, GSNA bylaws almost entirely. Then we did have one bit of business that concerned this board and our membership, possibly, maybe not, but I would share with you that the discussion of many moons ago now, it actually was before I became president of the district, all of the controversy about the bylaws of, I believe, March or the spring of 2 years ago. And finally, and I have no facts, as a matter of fact, I learned, apparently in my leaving the office early today, left the official copy of the letter, but I do have the copy of the letter that I will share with the board members. A report from ANA that our ruling in the on the handling of the bylaws at that time might have been, or it ruled it out of order, frankly, wasn't that? And apparently the president of GSNA and consulted with parliamentarian, and the ruling from GSNA board was that this be filed and that no action be taken, right?
In my letter, I said that even though the procedure was incorrect, I could see no point in telling an organization or something that had happened 2 years ago practically. Well, they asked me about this, I think, in January. And I could see no point in going back and saying that all you had done for 2 years had been out of order. And I thought the best thing to do would be to let them know that they could amend the bylaws and to go on from where they are. I just don't see any point in saying that everything that had been done for 2 years was strictly out of order. However, the procedure at that time was not. The president then was not given the absolute correct procedure, to follow, which anybody can do. I mean, that's understandable. But even though it was not correct, there was no point in going back and saying that everything for 2 years was of no value whatsoever. And the board adopted that letter, those views, and she has a copy of the letter.
Yes. I spoke to this in that, and made a recommendation, which was also adopted, that I had spoke to this at convention, pre and post convention board meeting both, and I think you should be know that I did speak to it. And that is that our communications are just I can't think of a better word than just lousy. We had members, I reported to you earlier, we had members of the of our district to write the president of GSNA letter that really could not be validated as correct. And this was presented at pre-convention board. And I stated and requested that these members be written a letter saying that it was out of order and that how to handle their problem. And to date, I have not received a copy of the letter that went to our members. This board, since I've been president, has received no communications of materials that went to A&A. And this is not good communications. And I again say that I made a recommendation or motion that all matters containing a district, or concerning a district, or containing any information about a district, that copies be forwarded to the district. I feel that this board and I personally should have had a copy of all materials that went to A&A for ruling. And
Now may I say, I didn't have that.
no, you did not.
I did not have that
They-
at all. All I had was the letters from A&A, and in that is to where they were pointing out the procedure that you could see. And I don't know what went to them.
So we have I think if anything that we can do in our organization, district and statewide, is that most of our misunderstanding are communication problems, and I think this causes a bit of the feeling that enters into all of this. So once again, Ms. Lewis will bear out that I did make a motion that any business that pertained to a district, that communications be shared. After all, we're a professional organization, and all communications should be printable and circulated. So I would share that also with you, and I believe those are the main things that I could bring from the board. I regret that I did not bring a copy of the letter, but I'll just share a copy with you. That takes care of the other communications, excepting to say that we get an awful lot of good communications from A&A particularly regarding membership. And in this flyer I'll pass around the talks of the regional clinical conferences and the possibility that some sections or districts may send representatives. And maybe this might help our recruitment efforts. So take a moment to just sort of browse through that and see if it might have implication for your section. I would appreciate it. We have a report from the treasurer. Ms. Hale, did you have anything to report?
You mean secretary?
Secretary, excuse me, report of the treasurer.
Okay.
Before I read the treasury report for the professional register, we have the audit report corrected. It reads donation to Community Council of the Atlanta Area Incorporated, and then influences grant from a private foundation, $5,500. The other $2,500 will show in 67 because it was not received until in January. the community council did not send it in, so that is why the full grant doesn't show in this report, but this has been corrected. And it is in the minutes that it will be approved at this time. It was read last meeting. The financial report for the Nurses Professional Register, April 1967, brought forward from March, $6,557.56. Membership dues and bill heads, $4,965.05. Total, $11,522.61. Check return insufficient funds, $50. Leaving $11,472.61. Disbursements, salaries, $937.20. Rent, $125. Telephone, $49.05. Miller's Bookstore for envelopes, $5. Individual system, 100. Postal card, posting sheets, $7.54. Curtis Bryant Incorporated. Position, honesty bond, $10. District Director, Internal Revenue, $243.42. Total, $1,387.01. Clear and Bank, after the deduction, we have $10,094.60. We have checks out, $989.26. And the bank statement at this time was $11,083.86. But what we really have is the $10,094.60. And in the office that they have dues in, I called today, there's $500 that has not been banked. So that, we won't add it, but it does make a difference in what we have. It does not post it. I move that this report be accepted.
Are there any questions to this April 1967 report, financial report? And hearing none, we will accept them for placing in file for the auditors.
Now,
We have not officially accepted
the correction.
the corrected Nurses Professional Registry financial statement for the year ending December 31, 1966. And the corrected, we reviewed this last time, but the error was in where?
The error was in them not stating that this money was a grant, and the way it was written in the report was just as well. They didn't really say where it came from. So the community council sent it, but we wanted to clarify, not for today because you people know, but 5 years from now or something like that, there may be a question. So having it clarified. And when I mentioned, see, the grant for the ones that have not been present before was for $8,000. But during 66, there was just 5,500 sent from the community council. And the other 2,000 was sent the first of the year, which will show on next year's report. That is 67 report in the audit.
Yes. I'm sorry, I missed that. Judy covered it. Are there questions regarding this?
I thought I would put this on the table. Anyone that wasn't present could look it over from the last meeting.
No questions regarding financial statement? All in favor of accepting this report, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The report is accepted as given.
Now, I have the audit report for the district for the year ending December 31st, 1966. I do not have the April financial report from the district due to the fact that there's been so much work on our secretary that could be given at another meeting and be read at our next meeting, this report to be approved. But you can only do so much, and getting ready for this week's activities has taken a great deal of time. And you see, the checks and things don't come back. If you could have worked it up the middle of the month, it would have been different, but you had to wait until this month to work it up for April, and it was impossible with the other work. So I'll give you the audit report, and then we'll have the other reports for the next meeting, if that's agreeable. The people that put out the orders, Touch, Ross, Bailey, and Smart. 5th District, Georgia State Nurse Association, Statement of Income, Expenditures, and Nurse Advocate Cash Basis, year ended December 31st, 1966. Income dues, $35,144.75. Subscriptions, American Journal of Nursing, $261. Interest, $137. Miscellaneous, $564.63. Total income, $36,107.38. Expenditures, Georgia State Nurse Association dues, $24,644.25. We could keep that, we would be rich. But since we hold their mainstay, it makes it too bad for us. Salaries, $5,400. Flyers, $176.91. Rent, $762. American Journal of Nursing subscriptions, $220. Telephone and answering service, $622.77. Postage, mailing, and miscellaneous expenses, $1,274.51. Legal and audit, $150. Entertainment and awards, $140.95. Section expense, $195.10. Other printing expenses, $943.71. Convention, $900. Travel, $200. Insurance, $76. Payroll taxes, $226.80. Secretarial service, $668.50. Office supplies and expenses, $741.05. Excessive expense over, the income was $37,000. That is, the expenditures was $37,342.55. Excessive expenditures over income, $1,235.17. Nurses active balance December 31st, 1965, $5,183.87. Balance December 31st, 1966, $3,948.70. They have a footnote. Dues are reported as income when collected. The dues of the $35,144.75 shown above are composed of $31,882.50 in 1966 and $3,294.75 in 1967. Dues collected in 1966 prior to January the 1st, 1966, there had been $4,696.25 of 1966 dues collected. These dues were included in 1965 income. That's it. I'll put it down for you to look at, maybe you can get more out of it than my reading. I move that the auditor's report be accepted if there's no questions.
Are there questions or discussion about any of the items? You read it all?
I tried to follow, but was the expenditure is more than the income? Over $1,000.
It says,
Our budget, we haven't collected enough dues.
$1,235.70 expenditures over.
Our budget is 13,000.
So that's the reason why they have the drive on for membership. See if it doesn't happen.
That means we've been using 1967 funds to pay 1966.
It means you
Expenses.
dipped in your reserves there. We stayed within our budget, but we did not get our quota of members, and that's what we're going to have to do right now. We're faced with the same thing. We needed 300 members. We lacked about 300 last year and 200 the year before. So we need an all-out drive for membership, very definite for
So our
membership.
budget was a little too optimistic.
Well, I think that what we needed to do, the budget wasn't too optimistic, we just didn't get enough help and cooperation there, because we need that many members. We base the budget on 1,332 members.
There was really no way to cut down on the budget to run our district. What we need is memberships of the people that are making their livelihood in nursing as professional people. That's what we need. And until we get it, I guess we'll always run backwards, because that's what it amounts to. But,
Are there other questions about this statement? Report? In hearing none, we will adopt the report as
well, we have,
given.
this page here of assets, cash, general fund, $390.51, nurses saving account, Atlanta Federal Savings and Loan Association, $4,085.87, office change fund, $25, $5,101.38, office furniture and expenditures at cost, $1,651.63, total $6,753.01. Unremitted payroll taxes, $274.56. Dues to the Georgia State Nurses Association, $2,529.75. Net assets, nurses active, $3,948.70. Total, again, is back up to the $6,753.01. That is the
Assets,
Mhm.
Ms. Macy, if you would maybe pass that around and let...
I'm going to put it on the table. Has it been approved?
Yes, yes, it has been adopted. Now, Ms. Lewis has advised me, reminded me that both of these auditors' reports will go to the membership on Thursday. We've adopted them here, but the membership will need to adopt them also.
Well, they've had the register,
Yeah, that's
See.
been read.
but just the correction.
Correct.
Oh,
That's correct.
that's right.
We might remind them that that is still young and garbled. They've been consolidated for the benefit of those that wondered about the new name on there, the larger company.
Thank you, Ms. Mays, for that report, those reports. Finally, report of the executive secretary.
I'm just gonna refer to two things. We've never had a busier time in the district at any time during the 7 years that I've been there. So I won't tell you that everything's up to date, because it isn't, but I will tell you that all the membership has been cleared, and all the A&A cards have been sent. Of the total that I gave you on this bulletin sent out, excuse me, there is a typographical error on the private duty. That should be 299. The total remains the same, and I have 24 members that will send in tomorrow. We have held the directory open because there are some directors of some of our nurses hospitals here, some of them in key positions, and some that we have not received the dues. So if anybody you know wants to get in, let us have it by tomorrow. It will be the very last call. It's being typed. These will just be inserted, and we will send it to the printers. Now, we haven't had any official printing done, and I'll give that while I'm on this. Harper has moved out on the edge of town toward Lawrenceville. It's on about 15 miles from here. But we'll still get them to print our directory, and it is ready to go, and we've sold enough ads, all of last year's ads except $75. We still don't have the Stansel Oxygen people. Somebody can give them a little hint. They are moving, and they promised to let us know, and Gordy Tire Company has been bought by the Goodrich Tire Company, or one of the major tire companies, and we can't get it from a local basis. But we did, one day we sold over $300 worth of ads for the directory, and it will go to press just as soon as the typing is finished. I would very definitely tell you that we're going to have more members. So all of the hospitals have received the 13 bulletins, and people have been designated to check with them, and we're hoping that it will be an all-out effort this time. Much material, I'd say at least 10,000 pieces have gone from the office in the last 2 weeks. And we're not up to date, but we will be up to date, we hope, one day soon.
Thank you.
That's enough. Let the program committee say what they do.
We come now to the report of the standing committees. Program, Ms. Hammond.
Madam President and Board, actually the program is in your hands. We have an explosion of everything. It seems like we have an explosion of events. I would like to speak on behalf of the events. It's been a very fine and noble effort on the part of the executive secretary to make possible the printing of all these materials brought to your attention program activities. It's been the responsibility of the program committee and the careers committee to announce to you these events. The success of them now will depend on our rallying behind the cause. The meeting that has been scheduled for Thursday at 4 p.m. is an invitation that has been extended to the membership to be in attendance at the 60th anniversary of the Atlanta Tuberculosis Association. It's scheduled at the Academy of Medicine, and the speaker is Dr. Robert J. Anderson, Medical Director of the National Tuberculosis Association, and he's a former employee of the Communicable Disease Center here in Atlanta. It's topic is the future of the volunteer health movement in the United States. And there's a reception to follow. And there are 60 reserved seats for us. And we hope that we cause them some concern, and they'll have to have just standing room for people. It should be an excellent program, and I urge you to be in attendance. This is a program activity for Thursday, prior to our meeting at 5:30 p.m. Our Friday has 2 splendid sessions that are identical. The clinical forum, 10 a.m. with a coffee hour before, and 4 p.m. with a Coke hour before. I believe the capacity for the Academy of Medicine is 350. I believe it's possible if each board member will be as widely concerned personally and enthusiastically an advocate of our cause, we can afford our membership a very splendid program. It has taken a considerable amount of effort on the part of many persons to recruit the people for our program activities. And if you have the pink printed announcement of events, you have the names of these people. I don't believe if we had sought far and wide that we could probably afforded better persons to participate. They hope to give us the concepts of nursing now, and as we carry toward the year 1970. The commemorative ceremony, which is at 8 p.m., will afford us Mr. Norman Shaven, the Director of Public Information, Department of Health, Education, and Welfare for Region 4. His subject is going to be as nursing moves into the 70s. We have the schools of nursing in the city to afford us some fine participation by young people. And we want to honor the contribution of past presidents of the 5th District and our president. We have several spectacular things, and we can't afford to reveal all the things, so you want to be there to see the goings on. We will have a very fine reception to follow this. Miss Mays has chaired this activity, and it promises to be just as fine and spectacular as any that we've had. Can you think of any real strong, positive directive on my part or the part of any?
Well, I'll give you one point about the reception. Last year and the year before, when I was chairman of the reception, there was different ones that were not able to go down those stairs. So this year, I asked them to use the library, and they said they didn't use it. Well, I've used it many times when I was at the Ponce Leon Infirmary, but they said they had closed that out. But anyway, they're letting us use the gold room, which would just come right out on that main hall. And it'll be maybe a little bit crowded, but we'll keep one table for the honored guest, and we'll try to arrange it where, and put chairs in the hall, and then there's a lounge across, which will make it very nice. But then everybody can come to the reception, and I think we'll all feel happier about it.
We're indebted for your effort in this part. We hope to have a recessional, and we'll lead our honored people there and attend to the protocol for these, and then we'll give them an opportunity to retire in the lounges across me. And then we hope that the entire audience will move out in this fashion. And our ushers are going to try to direct our line in such a manner.
Well, you know, I'm in great hopes that Miss Vanderbilt, that has done so much for Georgia nursing, in fact, was really the first real brick here in Georgia. And I hope she can attend, and she could never go downstairs. And I had she in mind with some of the others, but I hope Miss Van der Brady can come. She meant a great deal to me through the years when I first came to Atlanta, and I just never forget Miss Van der Brady.
No, you're all in that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Miss Hammett. If I might add that they're already involved in many of these activities, and I know that last year in some of the programs that were scheduled we need to help each other out with this. We got a guest speaker for Nurse Week to help us celebrate, and then not have enough people to even hear him. So if for no other reason than supporting each other, I would say take your calendar, the events. It can be a very busy week. If you personally get involved, try to get as many of the particularly the general duty nurse section involved in attending some of these activities. Maybe this will stimulate them a little to come and join forces with us. We have the membership, we don't have the organization. So do all that you can to help those who are providing the leadership, Ms. Hammett, her committee, Ms. Mace, to help make this really our week. And if I might ad-lib just a minute more, my secretary is a member of the NSA, the National Secretaries Association. And they had a calendar just like this, and one day there are 120, 130 members, and they just about killed themselves this one week. They left themselves free on Thursday, and they said, this is your day to spend with your boss. Really play up to your boss this day so you can play again tomorrow. It's a very wonderful calendar. It was no fuller than this calendar. And she tells me that almost every secretary in that organization went to every one of the events. And they had a boss secretary luncheon at the Marriott. Come in. And I went to that luncheon, and she said that almost without exception, every member was there. That night, they went to the Barn Theater. They caught buses downtown and went to the Barn Theater for dinner. And these were 2 dinners, and my secretary worked that day, with the exception of our lunch hour. On Monday night, Ivan Allen entertained them at the Piedmont Country Club. Tuesday night, they had a dinner meeting. Wednesday noon, luncheon. Wednesday night, a dinner meeting. Thursday, they were free. Friday, they had dinner at the Stadium Club. And they attended these activities. And I didn't hear them. They were looking forward to going to all of them. And I asked the nurse who hasn't been to a meeting in a month, can you go to any of this? And she said, well, I don't know. My secretary had family too. And I think it is a matter of an attitude. And it is a big schedule. But I may give my boss an hour this week with this schedule. Try to get in behind this, and it's really our week. It's our month. And if we could come through with the kind of enthusiasm and support that has gone in developing this, I think everybody in Atlanta, Georgia would know that it was truly Nurse Week. and more importantly, maybe the nurses would know it, and rally to the professional organization.
Madam Chairman, there is a typographical error there due to pressure when we found out we had to send the bylaws out hurriedly. We had a letter for Dr. Thomas J. Anderson there. He's former head of the Fulton County Medical Society. This Dr. Anderson was the Assistant Surgeon General as well as his many other activities, so we promoted Dr. Thomas. We heard from him, and Dr. Williams let us know too that he thought we
Dr.
liked
Robert
him.
J. Anderson.
Robert J. instead of
Yes.
Thomas J. So that is a typographical error.
Thank you.
We're gonna have 100 fountain pens to give away, so we're at the Coke party. The Coca-Cola people are giving us pretty little white ones.
Go if you got a fountain pen. Yeah, Coke.
Yeah, and a Coke. Coffee.
Madam President, there is one other matter that gives great concern to the program committee. There's a proposal for the bylaws. Would it be appropriate for it to be presented now, or could you entertain it later on the agenda?
We can entertain it now if you wish.
Our bylaws read on in Article 8, Section 1, the annual meeting of this association shall be held on the second Thursday in the month of September, the time and place decided upon by the association.
What article?
Article 8, Section 1. Reading Section 2. Regular meetings shall be held on the second Thursday in January, March, May, and November at the time and place decided upon by the association. In the proposed, there would be no change for Section 1, but Section 2. Regular business meetings shall be held on the second Thursday in January and March at the time and place decided upon by the association. Section 3, program meetings shall be held in May and November. The date, time, and place to be decided upon by the program committee. Then renumber Section 3 to Section 4, and renumber Section 4 to Section 5. I'd like to submit this as a proposal to the Committee on Bylaws
That's right. It is Section 13.
for consideration.
It's Section 13 there.
May we
Article,
have
I mean,
a-
Article
Excuse
13.
me, it's Article 13
That's
instead
right.
of 8. Excuse me, Article 13, please explain.
I could
Ms. Hammett,
She'll have one of these.
for clarification, what you're changing the proposal is merely to permit the May and November meetings be program meetings.
Yes, ma'am. Because we work the board membership to death to try to meet these, I believe, as an organization. Afford a greater opportunity and have better attendance.
That second Thursday also conflicts with the GSNA convention, if you remember last time. That was,
Do you all know the problem that we had in November? Do you remember? In that our bylaws called for a regular business meeting in November. Then we have the similar problem in May, in that just now we're having all of our other events and we are committed to a business meeting. Is there does that say?
Yes, that was the policy.
It would leave you 2 meetings in January and March.
Yes, leave 2 regular business meetings per year.
on annual business.
And then the annual, the September. So we'd have January and March as regular business meetings, and then the annual meeting in September.
And then, of course, the president would have the prerogative if she has pressures that
Yes.
she could not.
Special meetings.
Yes, this does not alter any of the special meetings or call meetings. Is there any discussion further on this? Questions? If not, we can forward this to the bylaws committee for their consideration.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you. We have a copy. Thank you, Ms. Hammond. Ms. Atkins, do you have anything on printing?
Well, no real printing. When I say offset printing, that of course is similar to the mimeograph, except it's better and much of our programs and duplications are done, it's less expensive. We itemizes it printing because it is a reproduction of papers and all rather than a service. And we've had that because we have our 4 booths that are being manned and we've gotten out a good bit of material on recruitment.
Thank you. We have bylaws. Mrs. Margaret Hasty, Miss Hasty called and stated that she would not be able to attend today. However, she has provided for us a report from the Committee on Bylaws of 5th District GSNA, drew up the proposed amendments to the 5th District GSNA bylaws as by instruction of the Bylaws Committee GSNA. These changes are mandatory to conform to the bylaws of GSNA. You all will remember at the last meeting we discussed and our parliamentarian did advise that these are mandatory changes in our present bylaws in that we voted for fee change.
There's not a finance committee, but I was just going to make this suggestion. I don't know what Miss Honeycutt is bringing up from the register committee, but if the board would like, I would be glad to call a finance meeting and see what we could do about the register for the close of the meeting.
No.
It's just merely a suggestion.
Thank you. Legislation, Ms. Barfield.
No, we've had no.
No, we've had no report to come in. Membership and credentials, Mrs. Dorothy Woods.
All of the members of the board have been sent the long list, we're very happy to say, 119, which set a precedent, was on March 27th. Most of those were the enrollments on the payroll deduction plan at Grady. And then we had another meeting on April the 24th, so in all they have approved 238 members, and of course these need your official approval. They are presented.
Have you had an opportunity, all of you received copies of these? It looks like our membership committee has really been working. 119 and then...
In that first report, and I've forgotten how many in the second one, but in all it's been 238, and they will meet again on the 24th of this month, and at that time they will check and have designated people to check all the hospitals here. So we're going all out for it.
Then we do need to take action on officially accepting these members as recommended to us by the Membership and Credentials Committee. Are there any questions about any of these? And hearing none, then all in favor of accepting as members the names submitted by our Membership and Credentials, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Then they are accepted as members as recommended. Nominations,
Madam
Ms.
Chair.
Sachs.
I have only heard from 2 sections the suggestions for the nominations for both the district and the state ballots.
Yes.
They were due May 1st. So we hope that we have public health and private duty. We hope that the other sections will get them to us just as quickly as you can, because we still have to send out for the biodata, have the report ready.
We're needing the suggestions for nominations for district and state.
And we took it to the meeting at the last time, and they all stated at that time that it'd be done through the sections. There were none nominated from the floor, if you'll recall.
Thank you, Ms. Happy. Registry, Ms. Honeycutt.
At the last board meeting, the chairman of the registry committee and president of the district were instructed to get information about the fair labor laws as they apply to the registry. And the fair labor laws do not apply to the registry staff working more than 5-day week. This ruling will be obtained in writing and placed on record. Mr. Campbell said that it would be necessary for the district to write a letter to him, giving him the information about the registry, the people who are employed there, and so forth, and in detail, and that he'd be glad to write a letter for us to have placed on file. He said we were not involved in interstate commerce, and we were not included as the hospitals and other agencies were in the ruling of the law. So therefore we were not, did not come under that.
Who will write the letter, Ms. Honeycutt?
I don't know.
Is that Fisher from the board?
We have not received a communication from Dr. Wilson. He was requested to allow us to use the findings of the Community Area Council to study the registry committee. A letter was written and we haven't had an answer. The registry committee did not meet in March, since no estimate of registry income for 1967 could be made until the district office and the registry had time to clear membership dues collected through March 31st, which was the deadline for paying dues. Therefore, no recommendations could be made concerning the operations of the registry until this report was received. It seems now that the registry may be able to stay in operation with the present 2 shifts until November. In the past, nurses have continued to join in small numbers throughout the year. However, so far, only 214 of the anticipated 286 have joined. This number includes graduates, practicals, and undergraduates. Mrs. Vaughn resigned unexpectedly effective March 1st because of her sister's illness in Texas. When she learned of the registry's difficulty in staying open due to Ms. Hooker's most recent illness, she returned to duty April the 2nd and relieved Miss Kellum, who worked 44 shifts in March. Some of this time she slept in the reclining chair in the office because she could not take the long bus rides home and be back at 7 a.m. to work the 16-hour shift. Ms. Hooker was able to come back to work on April 10th and says she feels better than she has in a long time. There were 2 recommendations from the registry committee to the board. I move that the registry get consultation from 5th District GS&A auditors in figuring payroll for the staff at the registry. 2, I move that the 5th District GS&A board invite the directors of nursing service in the district to meet with the board and discuss the problem of maintaining the 5th District Registry. Respectfully submitted.
You'll need that last one.
They're both written.
Oh, put it on the motion for me, please, because that goes, all those motions are filed.
I have it already.
On a motion?
Already on here. On a
I don't mean in a
recommendation.
report, I mean on a motion,
Oh, all
like
right.
that form. See, we
All right.
keep a form of all motions, because you wouldn't have time to read through all the reports, and we have all of them.
Well, then I keep the recommendations and just give you the motions.
Well, we'd like to have a copy of your
Well,
report.
I have both, all the
Good,
things here.
but we would like to have the motion.
Okay.
See, the catalog goes whether they have to do with the district or whether they have to do with the registry, and then it makes it very easy to go back through.
This is coming from
From the committee.
Registry Committee.
Mhm.
While she writes that out, maybe we can discuss the letter that needs to be written for, to have, in order that we may have an official statement on file regarding the nurses' professional registry as relates to the Manpower Act. We have suggestions as to who we would like to compose this letter.
Madam Chairman, the operation of the registry being in final analysis, district responsibility, I would like to move that it come from the district president. Anybody she wants to write it, but with the district president's signature.
I second this motion.
We have a motion and a second that I sign.
That's to who? To Mr.
Campbell, I
Campbell.
believe his
Yes.
name. What's his official title? Do you have it?
No, I don't. I was referred to him from GSNA. I have his telephone number at home. He's on Peachtree. But,
He's from the Manpower.
yes. Let's see, what was he called? Labor
Labor
Department.
Relations.
The United States Labor Department.
Labor Department.
Mr. Campbell, United States Labor Department, she says.
Mm-mm.
Not for that, bigger. At least his first name.
Well, I never
Just
did get
Mr.
his
Campbell
first
in the
name.
US Labor Department. He'd get
He'd
it
have to be
back.
pretty well known.
He'd have to
wouldn't
be
he?
pretty well known.
We'll have to get his title and so forth, but for the sake of business at this time, it seems that we can get that material if we have enough material for direction here. We have a motion that I sign the letter. And second, is there a discussion to this? Further suggestions to this motion?
Pardon? Were you speaking to me?
No, I was asking if there are further comments or suggestions to this particular motion.
And I put on here who made the motions and who seconded them and so
Not from
forth.
your committee, it's from when you bring it to the board, you put the people that make the motion here and second it.
Oh, I see.
See, that's why we had to have separate one on there, because the other goes in your file, this eventually goes in the bank, and our safe deposit box.
Well, you have to have the recommendations too, don't you? I have them for you right here,
It does.
in the handwriting. Can you read that?
Yes, I think so. So we have the motion regarding the letter
No, have you stated this one when you waited for her to state this? You didn't state that one.
yeah, but I have to take care of this one before this.
Oh, the committee also voted to pay Mrs. Kellum for the 9 days of Miss Hooker's sick leave that was overlooked when Miss Hooker's time was figured. I mean, when Miss Hooker figured that Miss Kellum's time.
The difference.
I didn't report that, I didn't finish reading the
That's a
report.
part of the report. This is all in our efforts to pay Miss Kellum in the absence of Mrs. Hooker, who was
That's right.
hospitalized. I have the motion that a letter be written to Mr. Campbell of the U.S. Labor Department concerning the status of the registry employees be written and signed by the 5th District GSNA President. Signed Ms. Wells and seconded Ms. English. Is there question?
Reread it, I was
That
misplaced.
that a letter be written to Mr. Campbell of the U.S. Labor Department concerning the status of the registry employees be written and signed by the 5th District GSNA President.
Is that to imply that you're to appoint the person to write it?
That I'm to write it.
Oh, that you're to write it
I
and
don't
sign
think
it?
I meant to put that last. Maybe I better look at it again.
Be written and signed.
Oh, okay, well, that's clear. Who, me?
That
I
last
was kind of
written,
comprehending it.
need not be there. And then that would leave it so that, the letter could be written and then the president signing it part. That would make it a little different.
That a letter be written to Mr. Campbell of the U.S. Labor Department concerning the status of the registry employees and signed by the 5th District GSNA President. Is there further discussion or questions? And all in favor of this motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion is carried. Is the implication that I get someone to write the letter now?
No, that,
Work with someone or?
implication is that it just be written if you want to sign somebody to do it, just so you sign. It becomes official, it was the point.
I'll get if it's in agreement with the members of the board, I'll get the people at the registry and Ms. Honeycutt to help compose the letter and get it in order. Does this meet your approval? All right. Thank you. We have two motions to entertain from the registry committee that the first motion reads that the registry get consultation from the 5th District GSNA auditors in figuring payroll for the staff at the registry.
Our auditors
And
were
that's the
contacted
district
and given how the figuring is to be done. Our own auditors, not the Georgia State, our 5th District auditors. They have already been they've already been contacted.
That's supposed to be Fifth District
She says 5th District GSNA auditors. So this has already been...
It has been taken care of, and they gave the scaling of how it's supposed to be, and said to call them any time, and it all goes under this one fee.
They did it on the computer there, it didn't take you, I understand that it didn't take but just a couple of minutes to throw it on the computer, come out with an answer.
Well then, it's appropriate, however, for this board to endorse this if this is the committee's wish.
Well, what did they actually do, Miss Mace? I haven't heard a word about this.
What's that?
I said, what did
Well,
they actually
for-
do? I haven't heard a word about this.
But the thing of it is the call about Mrs. Kellum,
Uh-huh.
and it has been worked out.
Well, what has been done about it?
The check has not been written, waiting for it to go into with the next bunch of, but it has been clarified with me.
What did they clarify? I mean, what did they say?
Well, I just couldn't offhandedly give it to you.
I think he
But
told
the-
Miss Hooker how to figure it.
That's right,
Because, I
told
mean, that's what-
told her how to
That's what
figure
we
it,
were asking you
and,
to ask him what was the proper way.
Well, we do need some policies, though, that's the point. We need some policies on how to
yes,
do
but
things that are
the
written
policies were
down.
started, and were asked to be held, so that is up to the registered committee to see that the policies are written, not the board.
Well, it's appropriate at this time for us to deal with this motion, and even though it's already been dealt with as far as collecting, the auditors have a set fee, and we may call on them at any time.
That's
Is
what
that
they
correct?
said. That's
We
what
need that
they're-
information for clarification. Is there questions about this motion or any further discussion?
Madam President, now the registry committee wanted the formula in writing with a signature.
Well, since we went to a two-shift registry, we have not had any policies that were spelled out for figuring anything. Ms. Vaughn has been very unhappy, and that is one of the real reasons that she left. Now, I prepared here something that might make you understand why Ms. Vaughn feels unhappy about actual working days and so forth. She feels that she is being asked to work more than she should be asked to work. There needs to be a committee to work some of this out. It doesn't need to be hushed, because if we're going to have a registry and have it function, the board needs to know how it's functioning. So I have prepared here some things from the minutes in the past, and also a way of finding the actual working days of the people at the registry. And Miss Hooker and Miss Kellum both actually worked 214 actual working days. And Miss Miss Vaughn, if she relieves them the 2 days per week, plus the 18 holidays, and there are 18 holidays when you count Miss Kellum's, Miss Vaughn's, and Miss Hooker's.
3 and 6.
3 times 6 is 18. Then when you add the 22 extra days relief that actually are left, that I believe Miss Mace and Miss Hooker decided to divide, because the committee asked them to do this, to divide between the 3 registrars. When you add that, you get 255 days, and then when you subtract the vacation and subtract the sick leave, Miss Vaughn is actually working 215 actual working days, which is 1 day more than Miss Hooker and Miss Kellum. Yet she's asked to relieve sometimes for sick leave and sometimes for other reasons, which makes her work more than the others do. And this is what's made Miss Vaughn unhappy. She feels, and rightly so, that if she's asked to work sick leave days or vacation days or any other days other than these extra 28 days, that would give Miss Kellum and Miss Hooker an extra day a month. If she's asked to work more than that per month, she actually is being asked to work free, just like Miss Kellum worked free the 9 days that she relieved Miss Hooker, which makes me wonder how much of this budget in the past, if it's really a real true picture of how much money really would be spent at the registry if we had policies to cover these things. So these are the problems. And I asked for a committee at our last registry committee meeting to work on this, and I didn't get one. I think the board needs to be aware that this sort of thing needs to be worked out. And we cannot go further than November without some more money. I've also worked all that out here, even with the $500 extra that Miss Mace has said that we have. We still cannot go beyond November for with our funds on a 7 to 11 shift. So these are our problems. If anybody cares to see any of this,
Well,
I
Madam
have it all.
Chairman, let me say this where Mrs. Vaughn is concerned. If this was the first unhappy episode of Mrs. Vaughn on that official register through the years, then I would feel that something drastically should be done, but this is not the first.
Well, this needs to be corrected, whether it's
It
first
needs
or
to be
not.
corrected, but I feel that should be a better understanding. You ask, as the chairman of the register committee, asked Ms. Hooker and I to work out a recommendation of how to handle after the night person was taken off.
That's right.
We did, it was accepted, and Miss Vaughn accepted it wholeheartedly because she was coming out. So, just
Yeah.
what the confusion is now, I don't
I've
get it.
had numerous telephone calls, and each time I had calls, the people who called said, just don't say anything about it. But I feel that since Miss Vaughn actually left, and since now she's come back, and since Miss Hooker has been ill, we're faced with a problem at the registry, and I feel that we should look at it and make plans that we can live with, and make plans that the registrars can be happy and live with, because where there is confusion from lack of understanding, things down in writing with job descriptions and so forth, seems to me would be the proper way of avoiding confusion in the future.
Well, aren't these people hired so much a month, so many days a month? Or then
But you
what's
see,
the
Miss
confusion?
Vaughn, here's the picture. Miss Hooker is a full-time employee. and Miss Kellum is a full-time employee. Miss Hooker 7 to 3, and Miss Miss Kellum 3 to 11. When we went to 2 shifts, we used to have a night registrar and a relief registrar. And Miss Vaughn rotated shifts. She worked all 3 shifts. But when we went to 2 shifts, then she's supposed to relieve Miss Hooker 2 days a week and Miss Kellum 2 days a week, so each of them will have a 5-day week. Well, one can readily see that she would only relieve 4 days a week. So Miss Mace and Miss Hooker said, let them relieve in lieu of a raise. She could relieve for the 18 holidays. See, she would get 6 days too. So that's the way it was left, but it seems that she's been relieving more than just the 2 days per, 4 days per week, plus the extra days per month for the 2 registrars. See, she would get 4 of those days too in lieu of a raise. Each of them would get more than that. But all of it added together, and I'll be glad to pass this out if you'd like to look at it and add it up. It adds up to her having 1 day more per year to work than Miss Kellum and Miss Vaughn.
And there is discrepancy in the wages, is there?
No, she gets $365 a month, and
She's a
Miss
flat
Kellum gets
salary
$365.
person, the
Flat
same as the
salary.
other people
Well,
on
that's what I
Miss
want to know,
English.
that whether her salary was in comparison to the other.
But what she feels is if she works any days beyond these extra 28 days and holidays, that she be paid for it. And as it stands now, she's not.
But that
Why
still
don't we
goes
just tell her
back
to
to the
take
registry
off
committee
that
to
day?
work it out.
I think
Not
that would
the
solve the
board.
whole thing, just say take off a day.
What's that?
She could just take off a day. Let somebody else work.
But she's,
Madam Chairman,
Uh-huh.
I don't quite understand why Ms. Honeycutt wasn't able to get the committee from within this registry committee. This certainly seems to be the group that should work out the problem.
Well, they were not very much in sympathy with Miss Vaughn.
that isn't the point, Miss Vaughn. I think we just need to start all over again with the register committee and work out the policies you're talking about.
I think
It
so,
is not the board. We bring it back to the board, for the board to either say we will accept it or they reject it. But there's not anything for the board to accept or
Well, since
reject.
the board is
But Miss
responsible.
Vaughn has never worked more. The way Miss Vaughn wants it, this coming month, she will work 16 days and the other work 22, see, and still make the same salary. So there's 2 sides.
But in April, she worked 1 sick leave day and 4 vacation days.
If she works an extra day, then she should be paid for
Well,
it.
she wasn't.
Well,
Is there any
That can be
provision,
taken
do
care of.
those people have sick leave? I mean, you say like so many.
Yes. They have 10 days sick leave, 30 days vacation, and 6 days holiday.
She was not paid, from what I can gather though, because of the way it was, the compilation, right?
Yes, we don't have
And
it
that's
written
what you're
down.
asking for.
And she accepted what was worked out. And that's the reason why, until the committee goes back and straightens this out, and straightens it out with her, because Miss Vaughn accepted.
I was
what
at the
the
registry
committee-
committee when
Yes.
this was reported. I didn't get to the last committee. But if this motion is handled and carried, and this is collected, will this then provide the information we need for the registry committee to work this out?
Yes. There are 2 reasons why I think this is so important. That's because the director of the registry may be covered with directives of policies and procedures that will protect her, and then so that the registrars and relief people may have a clear understanding of their job description and salaries. I wouldn't like to work under the conditions that Ms. Bond is working on. I wouldn't work under them.
So, Ms. Hooker explained that maybe 1 month she wouldn't work the same number of days, what like Ms. Mace called attention to 16 days. But that every 3 months, if it goes on a quarterly basis, it nearly always works out just right. But that you can't go by from month to month, but she says that heretofore, it has always worked on a quarterly basis and it come out about equaled up right with the number of days. And if she doesn't get the 16 this month, or last month, is it this month, is speaking of 16, then another
It's
month
18.
she'll work more days.
18 in May. If they
And
take
Ms.
their
Hooker
regular
explained
days
that
off.
in our meetings. I don't know why Ms. Vaughn is so unhappy about it.
Could this be worked out on a daily basis if the information has been gathered now? Would this be fair?
You mean, what are you speaking about now,
Right.
the daily?
If you
basis?
prorate the daily work salary, the daily day rate of pay, then would this be fair?
If Shelley
Uh,
works
but
16
how-
next month,
how-
then only pay her
how
for
would
16
you-
if she works 38 next month.
The auditors have told her how to work it out on a daily rate. Yes, it would be fine.
It's gonna mean that her salary 1 month may be here, next month will be low. That's what we stated.
No, I think what you're speaking about is extra days worked out. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Period. Just put it on a daily
rate.
and then when since this has given her an insecure feeling of the fact that it didn't tallying out, this way she'd know that she was getting paid for every day she worked. Just take a little more planning on her part as far as her budget was
Well, now,
concerned. That's her problem.
this would take away her vacation and extra, holidays and
No.
so forth.
No.
No,
Okay.
that,
Get paid for them
You
too.
still get
because
paid
she's
for
a
that.
full-time employee. She's
Yes.
not up there just relieving, for a vacation. Mrs. Bannenberger has come back to relieve for the vacations, I have been told. That is, Miss Kellum asked her to come in. And I think Mrs. Vaughn's already asked her, to relieve her for her, so that's taken care of, but that's a separate person.
Would all 3 employees then be on a per diem basis?
Okay.
Or would 2 be on a salary and 1 on a per
No,
diem?
all three,
All
yes.
three of them on the salary, I don't see what she's got to talk about, she's on
No, I'm
salary.
talking about with this new plan of her being paid by the day.
She's not willing to work like that.
Madam President, this may not be concerning that particular motion that we have on the floor, but I think that, the board does bear some financial responsibility for running the registry. And, I'd like to call attention to the fact that the monies are available to run until, when? November at the current, rate. And I think, we might give some consideration, as to whether we want to just cut off the registry as of November, or whether we want to, divide the monies that we have by the number of months that we're going to need to run, and then plan our budget according to what we have, and continue it on, even if it cuts the hours down. That, of course, would need to be worked out by the registry committee and the finance committee. And the plan then come to the board for approval.
But it seems to me that's a big point, is as to whether we keep on running or whether we run full force up until
I
the
think the
cutoff
second
period.
recommendation takes care of that, that the president has.
We can surely entertain what you're saying. This motion, I think, really just needs, I need to just get a vote on it, and I think
I don't believe that has-
everybody is in agreement that, from the nods, but let's take an official vote on this motion, and then we will proceed. The registry get consultation from the 5th District GSNA auditors in figuring payroll for the staff at the registry. All in favor of this motion, and I don't want to cut off debate or questioning. Does everyone pretty much have an understanding of what is being asked? And all in favor of this motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Then this motion is carried. And then we have this next motion, and you feel that this motion relates to what Ms. Wells, that I'll read this motion, that the 5th District GSNA Board invite the directors of nursing service in the district to meet with the board and discuss the problem of maintaining the 5th District Registry. And this is a recommendation from the Registry Committee.
I move the adoption of this motion, Madam Chair.
How would the, just give me a
Is
second.
there
And I
discussion?
second.
We have a motion and a second for this.
Sister Christie.
We needed no second in that this came from committee. Yes. So it is in order to discuss the motion.
How would the directors of nursing service decide this? And how can they decide it? Is it not a
Sister
board?
Christine is the one that made this recommendation at the registered committee.
I just
She-
need some
well-
clarification on my
Well,
part.
Sister Christine just thought the hospital people got together and talked, with the board.
Isn't it a
and
dollars
come-
and cents
What's
kind of
that?
a decision though? Isn't it a dollars and cents kind of a decision that has to be made?
I don't know just what Sister's thinking was, but her idea, I guess she better speak for herself. But I know what she said.
I kind of agree. Here, I don't know what they can decide for you. But wasn't this all decided when we, way back yonder at the beginning of the year, when we said we weren't going to be caught in this situation again this year, and the letters that went out to the registry members said in so many words, we'll go full blast until the money runs out, and when the runnings run out, then that's it? Isn't that what the letter said in so many words? Because we weren't going to get into this hassle again about being caught without money, because at the beginning of the year, we wanted to cut the budget then and spread it out, and nobody wanted to do that on the registry, so we sent that letter so very carefully stating that we wouldn't be caught like this again, and that we'd run till it ran out, and that'd be it. And that we would not be held responsible and caught again holding the bag for a broke registry, because when we approved that budget at the beginning of the year, we said we weren't going to do it.
No, we didn't approve it.
Well,
That
when that
was
discussion
never
came up.
approved. Yes, when the...
This was when it came up.
When it came up, but the budget was never approved. So, it's just still floating. So that's the reason why I'd be
It would
glad to
as
call.
broad as money would permit, I think was the statement they used.
And then when it was gone,
There must have been two interpretations on the letter that went out. One that it would run full force until the money gave out and quit. That seems to be the interpretation here now. But my interpretation was that the budget be, adjusted.
No, the word
So
adjusted
that-
was never used in the
With the explanation that we
recommendation.
cut to an 8-hour registry if need be,
No.
pending.
You just well
the
close
amount-
it as to put it on answering service if you're taking care of the public.
Put it, and, I forgot what I was gonna say.
It's that simple, Well, it's the truth. I wouldn't want a nurse sent out from answering service to take care of me. They'd send somebody out 75 years old and wouldn't know what was, how to take care of something new if I had something new, or if the patient you were calling for. You can't supply nurses for an answering service, not after the service that's being given this community. Now, they come up with, they have it elsewhere. All right, let them have it elsewhere, but Atlanta's never had it. And you're not gonna sell that easily here.
Ms. Wells, maybe this will help. I remember we discussed you're correct, that we did discuss, hours that it would run, and Ms. Mace, I'm positive, said the same thing then that she's saying today, that people won't pay dues if they're going to not have service.
They're not.
And this is the
They've already
letter,
said
the
that.
card that went out at the 5th District Board of Directors meeting on January 9th, 1967. The board members unanimously supported that the nurses' professional registry be maintained as long as funds are available. That statements be sent out immediately and a budget be established for the anticipated income of $14,300 based on private duty nurses' response to questionnaire of December 1966. The services of the registry will be as broad as budget will permit. That's underlined.
The services will be as broad as budget will permit, but that the budget was to be set up according to that, was it 14,000 anticipated income?
And they never got
And was
that, which is
done?
what, no ma'am.
We didn't
They
get
never got it.
14,000.
Which is
May I
what we said
finish
they would.
reading this, though? In the event funds are not available and operation of the registry is discontinued, the board voted on the motion to prorate all remaining funds and refund to registrants. So this, we have officially taken care of it. If there's no funds, then this is, that it be as broad as budget permits until there are no funds.
You know,
So
I
this
think
was the
this
January
board and
9th
this district
meeting.
has wasted a lot of time and effort on this registry. And I'm not one to say whether it should or should not be closed, but I do think that as a member of this board, and I've been on it a long time, seems like, forever, and this has been discussed every time I was on. With somebody should be smart enough on this board to work this thing out, that we should lock horns with it and say we got to solve this problem, or we should just stop fooling with this every time we come to the meeting. This takes up a lot of time, it's a lot of energy, a lot of effort, a lot of hard feelings, and everything. This thing ought to be cleared out of this board for once and for all. And we ought to do it now. I mean, not just right this minute, but in a reasonable length of time, this thing should be solved. We should decide whether or not we're gonna keep this registry or not. I just tell you, I get tired of hearing the same thing every time.
Miss English, that's what we did. That very feeling was the feeling of the whole board, and that's why that letter was worded in the way that it was worded, so that it wouldn't have to be brought back up
We do
again.
have a
Suppose though that they have
responsibility.
some money, excuse
But
me.
we have competition with our registry and the registries in the hospitals. And we have a responsibility to the community. And I understand all the good and fine things connected with the registry, and it has been this and has not been. I've known about the registry ever since I graduated from Crawford Long in 1925. And I don't know what they did then, but now, ever since I've been on this board and real active in this nursing organization, there's been a squabble about that registry. Now, somebody ought to be able to do something about it. And I think the private duty nurses are the ones that use it, and they ought to speak their piece or forever hold up. And I have anything else to say about it.
Madam President, just one other little point. You know, the letter that went out to each registrant spelled out what certain amounts of monies, if they came in, would be able to do. And I felt like that this card was in no conflict with that idea, but evidently there's a different interpretation. So that's my point, but I mean, it's up to the board to decide, of course, what is to be done.
Well, we've sort of gotten away from our motion, which, but Miss Wells, we got into this, you were discussing what we were to do.
For the future.
Now, the motion is that the 5th district, and let's deal with this if we may at this time, your assistants here, invite the directors of nursing service in the district to meet with the board and discuss the problems of maintaining the 5th district registry.
Madam Chairman, what board are you referring to?
This one.
This
Is
board.
this board or the,
That the directors of nurses in the district to meet with the board and discuss the problems. I might say maybe that, that would, the board and the directors are smart enough to solve this problem once and for all.
Somebody's got to solve it, once and for all.
Isn't this
so
an appeal, to get the two together and to work out some common agreement?
May well be.
Well, by next September, which is your next board meeting, maybe we'll have some answers and some money. Unless you'd have to make it for a call meeting. Wouldn't you?
I think it'll be a call meeting.
It would have to be a call meeting unless you plan to be, the next meeting would be in September.
Who would be included in the directors of nurses? Is it nursing service? Let's just wait.
Sister Christine is the one that made that recommendation.
she's in the nursing
Well,
service.
Yes, and then there's,
Madam Chairman, I simply am asking for information now. Is there a possibility that there will be money past November for the registry run? If so, it seems to me that we've got to have some good solid planning. If it's going to come to a screeching halt November the 1st, as this card takes care of, I think that's one thing. But if there is any possibility that the registry will have money, therefore will be running, it seems to me we've got to get a good solid working on it. How is the best way for this thing to go? Instead of just going along. I really am asking more for information than any other thing.
I can partially answer the question. I have no idea how to predict how many people will join the registry. However, I think we had people joining the registry all year last year, even with the financial problems right up to the end. Newcomers to the community that didn't know about the call systems of the few hospitals were joining. I kept up with the new members. They joined 5th District because they were going to join the registry. But I would expect that certainly this might continue, but I don't know how you can predict.
I think if this is true, then this would be a good step towards solid planning. I'm speaking now in favor of the motion, actually.
Madam Chairman, that's the reason why I said I would be glad as the finance chairman when it came for the finance report, not the report of the finances, to call a meeting and to get the figures there and see what can be done, let you have it, and then send it out to the board just for their information, if you'd like.
Madam Chairman, I have here just some figures that I copied down. In June of last year, there were no members who joined. In July, the income was $487.25. In August, $175.80. September $369.50, October $179, November $129.19, and December $63.15. That was last year. If that would help any.
I think what I'm saying is, it seems to me that if there is a possibility of our having a registry after November, that this is the time to really get together and determine what is the best thing about the registry. I mean, we've committed ourselves to dissolve it as of November, if the money runs out. But if the money doesn't run out, then we aren't really planning beyond that point. It would kind of seem too bad to me to come to November the 1st and find ourselves with a registry still running without adequate planning for what's the best way to do it.
Are you ready to vote on this motion, or do you wish to discuss it further? And this doesn't really answer your question.
My question really can't be answered. I'm just saying, if there's any chance that we are going to be running on, then it seems to me it takes that we really have to plan for it. And that these people would be good contributors to the planning, is what I'm saying.
You see that you're saying that these people, the directors and the members of the board,
Right.
would be the persons to plan.
Well, in not knowing how to vote, I would have to know a little bit about what the focus would be. Would it be to tell the director, ask the directors of nursing if they're going to support the registry, or do they not want it, or exactly what are we going to talk about before I vote?
I don't know.
Does anybody else?
Well, I think, Sister, I don't like to quote anyone when they're not present. Miss Honeycutt and Miss Zerks are there, but she said,
I think, you want me to say what I think she thought?
yes,
I think she thought that after a year's time, when they pulled out and all, they'd see the need to come together.
that is, I think, I agree with you. That was Sister's thinking, that maybe they'd see that they would be
That they're
better
still
to
not serving the
maintain it
public
and
as they could be served.
still keep their own, see, but also see that the register is supported. I think that was the,
I hear that the, I don't know whether Sister thought anything about this or not, but I hear that the labor union is about to raise its head again, and I just wonder if there's any reason that maybe she might think that it would be good to have all the private duty nurses on the registry, because that's one way of defeating the union.
Well, I think she felt like too that maybe some individual hospital registry might have somebody on that was for call, and another hospital badly needed one, and they'd have to say, well, we don't have anybody available. And yet that person might be sitting over there on another hospital's registry that could be used. And that is not giving the best care to the public when they ask for a nurse. I think no stone should be left unturned if it is at all possible to get a nurse when requests go in. We know there's not enough to go around, but sometimes another they are sitting waiting a day or two. And I think she felt that maybe after they tried it a year or something, they might see. I know that the one at my hospital a lot of times has said many a time, we don't have anybody available. And I have checked downtown, and they did have one or two available. And yet, those individual registers would refuse to call down there and get that patient a nurse if they could have.
They usually call
Or they
me.
could have gotten and secured somebody.
Oh,
I've
there was
had dozens of those calls.
I feel like that's denying a patient nursing care when it could be a time.
There was another thing she said too that just occurred to me, and that was that in our, American Nurses, Registry Manual, it says that, all members, once a registry is begun, that all members, have a professional responsibility to see that, if the registry is run by the organization, that all members support it. I believe that's the way she said it.
That's what the representative told them at the convention last year, too, that came from
The security.
ANA.
Are we ready to vote on this motion? We haven't answered your question, the tone of who's going to present what, or what's going to be the topic for the meeting.
But I get a feeling a little bit about what it's gonna be about, so maybe I can vote.
All in favor of this motion that the 5th District GSNA Board invite the Directors of Nursing Service in the district to meet with the board and discuss the problems of maintaining the 5th District Registry. All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no.
No.
Can we have a show of hands? All in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same. The motion is carried. Alright, do we, Miss,
Excuse me, Madam Chairman, do they want to specify a time on that as to when?
yes, we should have more information on that, I'm sure. When does the board wish to meet with the Directors of Nursing Service?
See when they can meet with you, it seems to me.
How do you wish us to
If
proceed?
Ms. Mace's asked that the finance committee meet, don't you think it should be after they meet and see what they can do? So they have something to try to brainstorm to?
Well, I was going to go back to some of these comments that we've had. We had Ms. Mace offered to do this, if this is what the members of the board wish. Ms. Mace to, have a finance committee meeting so that you can have, information available.
Yes.
Alright.
I think you would want that information before.
That's what I.
Is that
Mhm.
Yes, that's.
Madam Chairman, this doesn't mean that we're not gonna stop in November if there's no money, does it? I mean, what are we voting on now? This means if we go on, we're gonna have, right?
No, this just means that they want to, that, again, the registry wants to meet with the directors again. I don't
Not the
Board,
registry.
not the registry.
No.
With the
Board.
board.
I think to see how much support they can count on in making that plan for the future.
But not financial support, because we've already settled that, haven't we?
Well, they're
We
gonna
don't have
stay
any
financial support,
Uh-huh.
because they gotta say, if you get them
It's to
joined, then you
discuss
could give
the
me the money.
problem of maintaining the 5th District Registry. As I said, we're taking to the Directors of Nurses, of which I'm one, also a board member. We're taking to the Director of Nurses the problem of running the professional registry.
They are the advisory committee anyway.
This
No,
is all-
Only they have,
we were asked not to meet. The advisory committee was asked not to meet.
according to the bylaws, we wouldn't have an advisory committee made up like that anyway if the bylaws were not known.
Well, no, ma'am, these bylaws, the way that letter was what is here, and if you don't like it, change it. And change it in the right manner.
Yes. Yes, that's good clarification.
I know that they were.
I realize the motion is carried
I am wondering if the board meets with the directors of nursing service and comes up with some suggestions, then where do we go from there? The nursing service directors made some very concrete suggestions at one time that were refused by the registry committee.
By
Or
the
by
private duty section.
somebody, private duty section, and I just wonder, by meeting with the board, and I happen to wear two hats in this meeting too, what will be the outcome of it? What's the good in it? I don't know, Miss Rosecrans, I'm in the same shoe with you. You see, this to me is the problem. It keeps getting put back to this board and to the directors of nurses. If the private duty nurses don't like it, it's just mining your time for them to say, we don't like their proposal. In our So I just don't personally, and I did not vote, there was no need for me to vote. I would voted in opposition because I don't see it as my problem as a director of nurses. I see it as my problem as a board member to be concerned about the registry. I would like to really throw out, when are the private duty nurse group going to direct this board as to what they feel is the answer to the problem, other than to dictate to other disciplines.
We voted on this motion yet?
Yes, ma'am, it is carried.
Okay,
We're
that's all
committed to
right.
meet and,
I thought you were talking about something else.
with them.
See how confusing.
But
it
I
is.
think you will get out, I personally, as a nursing director, nursing service director, I will show you that patient needs, from my statistics, have been met with the call system. And I think you will, the directors asked and announced in writing to me as the president that this was what was going to happen if something was not done about who we were getting to do private practice. I had much rather have nurses sitting on my call list waiting for patient calls than to have patients on my call list waiting for nurses to call. And that's my personal experience. My statistics will support this. And I believe I was directed by two other institutions that had had similar situations before I moved into it.
I think what you've just said is a good thing for why the people in your position would come together. Because I think you're lending support, which we would not have gotten from you as a board member. You now are speaking as a director of nurses, and that's the reason I think it would be good to have these directors express the same success in the present.
15.
Not the success.
No,
we
I
have
think it would
not.
sort of be a
success.
progress report of what,
I see what you mean.
But the
of what's
problem
been going
the
on.
only
is
good
that
thing.
directors and nurses, I will say this, our concern first is patient care, and the next is the persons who give it. The first is the patient, the second is the givers, and this is our position here. And I don't think this will help. My experience will not help the cause of the private practice nurse as relates to the registry. I regret it because I was willing to give the same effort to work with the professional registry and the private practice nurses to achieve the same end.